Good morning. Today I want to talk to you about accommodation. It's one of the main expenses of traveling. If you go anywhere, you need to find somewhere to sleep. That's just something that's unavoidable. But there are certain ways that you can use to get free accommodation, and that's what I want to talk about to you today. So I'm just going to go through each of the ways I know to get free accommodation, and with each of the examples, I'm going to try and give some more information. The first one, and it's an obvious one, you might have heard of it before, is Couchsurfing. It's a massive site and a massive community that you can use to find hosts to host you in any city around the world. You basically build up your own profile, you say what you're interested in, what you've done before, and you request to stay on someone's couch, or often also someone's bed, not in the same bed as them. But basically, the best way to use that is to build up a good profile, get people to recommend you after you've stayed with them, and then the more you get recommended, the more friends you have on there, the higher trust you'll have, and the more opportunities you'll have to stay with people. Obviously, when you're staying in a stranger's house, it takes a degree of trust, so make sure you talk to them beforehand and you feel comfortable staying there. The next one, and I've met loads of people doing this, is working in hostels. You can do this all over the world, but I've noticed it especially in Europe. You have people working behind the desk or working in reception that are staying there for free board and maybe a little bit of extra cash, I'm not really sure, but I know you can definitely stay there for free accommodation and free food. I did this for free accommodation in Australia. I worked as a cleaner when I was on the working holiday visa there. It was just a few hours a day of cleaning the dorms, and I got free accommodation each night. I used that because I didn't have a job at the time, so it enabled me to live there pretty cheaply. You could even be a little bit creative with this. You could just offer the owner an incentive to let you stay for free, such as you'll help build that website, you'll help take photos of the accommodation, or you'll do videos of the accommodation for them to use. Working as an au pair, and I met so many people doing this in Australia. Basically, you get free accommodation and a small wage in exchange for looking after someone's kids, picking them up from school, and doing general chores around the house. The wage is pretty small, and I know in other countries if you do this, there's no wage at all. But the benefit of it is that you get to live in a new place completely for free and see the local way of living. Now, I found this to be a job that was more open to women. Most of the au pairs I met in Australia were women, but it also is open to guys. It's just still one of those sexist industries, I think. The next way to get free accommodation is through using sites like Workaway. And that basically allows you to get free accommodation and free board in exchange for working on various projects, working in a farm, working for a business, or working for a family in places all over the world. And I've never done it myself, but I've also met lots of people that have used this and have nothing but great things to say. Of course, it always depends on who your host is. So again, make sure you talk to them beforehand and find out exactly what the job is going to be. Make sure you know how many hours you're going to be doing and what the accommodation is like so you're not disappointed. In a similar way to using Workaway, you could also volunteer in places around the world. For example, I volunteered in an orphanage in the Philippines, and in exchange for that, I got a few days accommodation and a great experience. Camping or renting a camper van. Now, this won't necessarily be free all over the world. You have the upfront costs of either buying a tent, buying a camper van, or renting one of those two. But if you're willing to camp anywhere, and you're willing to camp illegally, because some countries won't allow you to, then it can be free. As long as you're willing to put up with the adverse weather that you'll encounter, then sure, you can stay for free in most places around the world. Now, it's important to note that most campsites aren't free, but in most cases, they'll be a lot cheaper than staying in hotels or hostels. Starting a blog or using your social media following to promote the accommodation. Now, this is a way that you can get free accommodation all around the world. And obviously it takes a lot more work in the beginning. You have to either build up your Instagram, your YouTube, or your blog, but then after that, you can start to show off people's accommodation to other people around the world in exchange for staying there for free. I've had this offered to me in Thailand. I'm currently staying here right now for free in Lily Pad Inn in Dali because of my blog and because of my social media following. And I know lots of other bloggers that have done the same all around the world, so it's definitely something that is possible. It just takes a lot to begin with. House sitting. Now this is something I've never done myself, but in fact my mum has quite often. You can stay in places all around the world as long as you agree to look after their house or look after their pets, and you can stay in that house for free in exchange for looking after it. People like to do this because they don't like to put their pets into kennels or catteries or whatever it is, so they prefer to have someone that will look after them, or they prefer to have someone that will maintain the house and maintain the garden in exchange for letting them stay there for free. Monasteries and temples. You can stay in these in various places around the world completely for free. For example, there are temples in India and temples in Thailand that I know of that you can go to and stay for as long as you like, as long as you help out with the daily chores they have. Now the last one I know of, I'm sure there are a lot more, but these are all the ways I know of right now, is through using home exchange. And this site basically allows you to exchange your home in any part of the world for someone else's home. So let's say you want to stay in New York for a month. There'll be someone else that might want to stay in London for a month, and you match with them, talk to them exactly about what the dates are, and you can stay in another city anywhere in the world for free. The added advantage of this is you get all the home comforts. You get a whole house to live in rather than living out of your suitcase in a hotel room. You can go and stay in beautiful accommodation in all parts of the world, and you get to mingle more with the local culture. Now, obviously this is something I've never done, as I don't have a home or a house to exchange. But if you do, and you're thinking about going back to your home country afterwards, this would be a perfect way, I feel, to integrate with a community and live in a different home somewhere else in the world. Finally, just some bonus tips for you. This isn't how to get free accommodation, but it will help you to minimize your costs while traveling. Firstly, travel overnight. If you want to go between two places and there's an overnight sleeper bus, an overnight train, or an overnight flight, then that will help you cut down on costs. It saves you getting there in the night and having to pay for a hotel on top of the travel as well. And further to this, if you arrive late at night in an airport, for example, why not just sleep in the airport for a few hours, and then you've saved yourself money on that accommodation as well. It won't be the world's most comfortable sleep, but you might save yourself money in the long run. Sharing with people. If you can travel with someone else, then you'll cut down your costs massively. It's so expensive to travel on your own, especially if you're paying for a room in each place. If you can share a room, you're basically halving your costs straight away. And lastly, an obvious one, but an old favorite, staying in dorms. If you stay in dorms, then you'll cut your costs massively. And that's every single way I know of getting free accommodation anywhere in the world. There's more information on every single one of those in my website, which is linked above. Now those are all the ways I know of getting free accommodation all around the world. If you have any more tips to offer, put them in the comments below. If you are thinking about using any of those methods, then make sure you click through to my site, as I have a number of discount codes to offer you guys. So if you go through me, it might work out cheaper in the long run. Anyway, with that, I'll say again, thank you for watching. I hope that helped. It's just some advice that I'd like to pass on to you. So for now, thank you for watching, and this is my life.
3, 2, 1, go!